Bonjour, c'est Claire, French in the Midlands. This is yet another update on my previous travelling video. It's the third time I've had to redo it because, as you know, the government guidance keeps changing. The rules for entry to France have changed yet again, so here's your update. Now, before we go any further, I just want to remind you that you can claim your free ebook, The 12 Golden Rules of French, at the link in the description. It's a short ebook that's packed with tips and tricks on how to sound like a native French speaker. Things are changing again as from December the 18th. Luckily, you've booked your trip and you left on the 17th. Otherwise, this is what you're going to have to do. As from the 18th of December, all passengers travelling from the UK to France will require a negative antigen or PCR test taken less than 24 hours before their trip, whether they're vaccinated or not. This used to be 48 hours, it's now 24. Passengers will only be allowed to travel for essential reasons, which include being a French citizen and their immediate family, and being a resident in France, for which you will need to show your carte de séjour. You are not allowed to travel for tourism or business purposes, and this is the big change. All passengers will have to register on the EOS COVID digital platform before they leave the UK. This is important. I'll provide the link to that platform in the description. And they will have to self-isolate for 48 hours until they receive a negative PCR or antigen test result, assuming the test result takes 48 hours to come back. If it comes back within 24 hours, that's all you need to isolate for. Now, here's a few changes regarding the booster jab, and this is only regarding France. These changes have not been enforced in the UK yet. As from the 15th of December 2021, the over 65 will need to have had their booster jab to be regarded as fully vaccinated for travelling to France and getting their pass sanitaire. This also applies to French residents. In order to keep their pass sanitaire, they will need to comply with the same booster jab rules. As from the 15th of January 2022, the 18 to 64 who've been fully vaccinated for more than 7 months will need to show they have received the booster jab in order to get or keep their pass sanitaire in France. And again, this applies to both tourists and residents. So to recap, if you're fully vaccinated, these are the documents you will need to show. Your certificate of vaccination, your certificate of travel showing a compelling reason for entering France, the link is in the description below, a negative PCR or antigen test result taken less than 24 hours before your trip, your sworn declaration, link in the description below again. You will need to register on the EOS COVID digital platform before leaving the UK, and the link is in the description as well. Finally, on arrival in France, you will have to self-isolate for 48 hours until you receive a negative PCR or antigen test result. If your test result comes back negative 24 hours afterwards, then that's fine, that's all you need to isolate for. If you are not fully vaccinated, this is what you need to do. Show your certificate of travel showing a compelling reason for entering France. A negative PCR or antigen test result taken less than 24 hours before your trip. Your sworn declaration. You will need to also register on the EOS COVID digital platform before leaving the UK. You will need to self-isolate for 7 days on arrival and take a PCR test on day 7 of isolation. If it comes back negative, it will also give you a health pass valid for 24 hours. Now, these are the rules regarding vaccination in France or to enter France. You are regarded as fully vaccinated 28 days after the Janssen vaccine or 7 days after the second dose of other vaccines such as Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca. And if a booster is required, you need to have it done 7 months after your second shot. Unless you comply with the above, you are considered as unvaccinated and must show all the documents relevant to that category when you travel. Bear in mind these booster rules have not come into effect in the UK yet, but no doubt they will very soon. If you're wondering where to book your tests, I have a few pointers for you. In the UK, you can get tested at all major airports and test centres throughout the country. Now, if you only need an antigen test, then you can self-test, for instance using a C19 kit, and I'll give you the link in the description. You usually receive the results within a couple of hours. The only reason I recommend C19 is because I've used them in the past and found them really straightforward. In France, you can make an appointment online at Doctolib with a lab near you, and again I'll give you a link in the description, or you can just turn up and queue at your local pharmacy, but be aware that not all of them offer COVID tests, so Google it beforehand. And again, they will send you your results within a few hours, so it's very straightforward. Now, before we finish, I'd like to give you some advice about airlines or transport companies. They have been known to make up their own rules, which again are different from government guidance. For instance, only accepting PCR tests for travel when the government says you can have an antigen test. So check what their requirements are before you travel and before you buy any tests. This is really important. I know it's going to make your trip really complicated, but it's really worth doing. You don't want to be turned away at the border. And finally, beware that the test results are only usually accepted in French, English or Spanish. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. À bientôt.